let's see if we can't figure out what the hell's going on with the Postal Service in this upcoming election. First of all, I didn't do a show on Friday, so I apologize. For those of you that are watching every single day and I wasn't here on Friday, sorry about that. I had a very early start to my professional day, which this is not my professional life. But I just didn't have time to get to shooting a video that morning. By the time my day was over, it was late in the afternoon, and I don't do shows on Saturday and Sunday, so I just figured I'd skip a day. I've been pretty good, considering I switched over to a daily format a few weeks ago. I have put a video out just about every single day. So I am pretty proud of that so far. And here we are. It's Monday. What is today? The 17th? Yes, it is. Today is Monday, August 17th. Let's talk about what's going on here. Live as always. There seems to be an attack on the United States Postal Service. Now, many of you perhaps don't realize exactly what the Postal Service is in comparison to the UPS or FedEx or any number of companies that have been out there for years. The United States Postal Service has been around since the beginning. This was early on in our nation's birth. It's been funded by our government for a very, very long time. A couple of decades ago, actually, I'm not even sure the date. I should have done a little bit of research before. But regardless, at some point in recent history, it was mandated that the post office had to run with a balanced budget, that they were no longer going to be directly funded by the government, and that they had to cover the cost of doing their work with the cost of stamps and whatnot. First of all, the question becomes, why is that the case? What does that portend about the Postal Service and its place in our country today? Well, the reason why that happens, it's a push that's been going on from conservatives in this country, generally Republicans. And this is not one of the things that I admonish the most about conservative politics, but they have been pushing for a very, very long time to privatize everything. Privateering in this country is a way of making large corporate business owners richer. So if they can take services that the government offers and privatize that and make money for corporations by doing the same work that the government normally pays for, they really push to do that. This is why we see such resistance to universal health care, to free education, and so on and so such, because so many donors come from the fuel industry, come from medical, pharmaceutical industries, come from large universities. And so there's no impetus for politicians, especially in Washington, who are funded by PACs that are funded by these corporations. There's no impetus for them to change the way that we do business, so far as that goes. But you've seen privatization of our jail systems. You've seen privatization of other community things that we offer, including trash collection, even some policing. What we're seeing in Portland, even some freaking policing in this country has gone private, and that is absolutely unacceptable. But I'm getting away from myself here. So there's been a push to privatize the Postal Service for a very long time, and not so much as to turn it over to a corporation to do, but to basically eliminate it. If they can eliminate the Postal Service and allow other companies like FedEx and UPS to come up, then that's a benefit for all. Now, surprisingly, one of the people that owns a company that competes with the Postal Service is the Postmaster General, who was appointed by Trump. His name is Louis. I don't remember it right now. Not my job. Anyway, he has Louis DeJoy. So he has been making a series of changes to the handling of how the post office is worked every day. And some of those things are being called into question because it's happening right before the election this year in November. There have been indications that mailboxes, collection mailboxes, the blue mailbox that you see on the street, that those things have been being collected and taken off the street so they can't be used anymore. There has been mail collecting systems. So when you go through the mail, when you mail something and it goes to the post office, it goes through these high-speed sorting processes so that they know where the mail is going. They've been taking those systems down and removing them as well. And I apologize for looking off this side. I'm trying to find a tweet that I saw earlier showing what's going on here. I cannot seem to find it right now because it's going to be one of those days. I can already tell. But anyway, those mail collection systems have been removed in a number of post offices across the country. Mailbox collection, the collection bins that you see on the streets have been getting picked up. Even in D.C. and I believe in New York City, there's padlocks on these pieces of equipment to block people from dropping the mail in there. Now, why is this so important? Why are so many people complaining, especially on my side of the aisle? Why are so many people complaining about what's going on? Well, here's the deal. Motivated elections, high turnout elections, go to Democrats in this country. The reason why is because, and here's where I'm going to start pissing all you people off that come to my channel from the right. The reason why elections go to progressives and to Democrats with large turnout is because the United States is predominantly a Democratic, big D, Democratic state. We are not mostly Republicans. We are not center-right, as most of the media will want you to believe. And it's not because they're lying to you. It's because historically our elections have dictated so. But the problem is that generally young people, early young voters, 18 to 21, 18 to 25, even 18 to 30, young voters are generally not motivated to vote. They're not motivated to go to the polling places, to stand in line, to waste what they consider wasting their time, to vote for a candidate perhaps that doesn't inspire them. Now, we saw large, sweeping, historic turnout for Obama because Obama inspired that young voting population to come out and vote. But if they're not inspired, they stay home. They just don't get involved. Now, our older voters do generally vote Republican because more active, longer living people tend to feel like they want to hang on to the way their lives were. Thus, they want to conserve things the way they are. Conservative voters generally are Republican voters. So older voters that will make their way down to the polling place tend to be that way. But some aging voters that are worried about their Social Security, worried about Medicaid or Medicare, they may be motivated to be Democratic voters, but perhaps they don't have the ability or the ease to get down to a polling place and stand in line, which often is the case in many places. Now, why is there always a line? Well, that's also part of the fact that the Republican side of Board of Elections across the country, in sweeping actions, have fought to reduce the number of polling places available. They try to get polling places into white suburban areas. They try to reduce the number of polling places available to low-income and more motivated voting places for the Democratic Party. It's another version of gerrymandering to a certain extent. So, what's going on in the COVID world? I'm getting way ahead of myself here, but what's going on in the COVID world is that there is this push now for most voting to happen via the mail. Now, mail-in balloting has been done since the Civil War. Military members have been doing it for years. President Trump, who's eligible now because he gave up his New York citizenship, who's eligible to vote in Florida, has requested a mail-in ballot for Florida. He has no intention of going to a polling place. But if you can reduce the number of voters, whether it's mail-in or polling, as they have systematically done, the Republicans have tried to reduce the availability of voting for everybody. By doing that, you ultimately are reducing the number of Democratic voters. And especially if they can do something to just mess up the works just a little bit, so that makes it harder for mail-in ballots to make it on time. There's been a press release by the Postal Service itself saying that there is a good chance that mail-in ballots will not make it to their counting places in time. Why is all this going on? In an election, it's because Trump knows he's most likely going to lose. And most likely his loss is going to end up in January with him in handcuffs, going back to New York to stand trial. Now, that's a far-fetched idea. That may never happen. God, I hope it does, though. I really hope it does. But the fact of the matter is that he is doing anything he can right now to try to buy this election, to just cause enough problems to make the results questionable. And he tweeted over the weekend, I believe. I'm paraphrasing here because I don't have the tweet in front of me, but something to the effect of it could be years. He says years before we know the events of this or the results of this election. It's not exactly true. I think, as far as I understand, it's somewhere between 10 and 15 days for the counting of the ballots to be completed. I mean, keep in mind, there are Board of Elections offices in, I believe, every county across the country. They're the ones that are counting. It's not like your ballots are all going to Washington and all being counted in one room. And also, keep in mind, too, that the mail-in response is not necessarily going to be a world's difference from what you see in the actual polling place results, which you'll have in real time. So you're seeing a significant push to delegitimize and obstruct this election by the White House, and it's, in my opinion, it's fucking gross. So Nancy Pelosi is recalling the House to try to pass some legislation in the House. Now, of course, it'll die in the Senate, but at least then they can point a finger and say, "See, Mitch McConnell, touche turtle over here, he's blocking this legislation." And there's a lot of misinformation coming out of Washington right now. Why are they all on vacation? Why did they go on recess until September with no further aid? President Trump is trying to say that the UPS or USPS Postal Service funding is being held up by Democrats. That's nonsense. It's absolute nonsense. There is no reason for the Democrats to hold up funding. The Democrats in the House and in the Senate want funding for everything. We want to keep $600 a month for every employee that's on unemployment. It's $15 an hour for 40 weeks. That's what $600 is. We want to keep the funding for the Postal Service. In fact, we think it should be a government paid for function for all the people in this country. Also, the Democrats want small business funding. They want relief for states. They want relief for local municipalities that have lost tons of tax dollars, so that programs for underprivileged people in this country, for low income and dangerous communities to have funding, that funding is going away. Funding for healthcare, funding for schooling. That's what they want help with. And Mitch McConnell is not allowing this spending to happen. And sure, I understand that our deficit is in historic places right now. But you know what? In the middle of a COVID epidemic, a pandemic in this case, in the middle of an election year, while real people are hurting, people are worried about being evicted from their homes, kids can't go back to school, everything is in turmoil. The vacation industry in this country, the travel and tourism industry, the hospitality industry, restaurants, hotels, retail industry, because supply chains have been messed up for months. Everybody is fucking hurting. And Mitch McConnell and the GOP-led Senate wants to do nothing. Nothing. Oh, actually, that's wrong. They want to do payroll tax reductions. They want to reduce taxes to make corporations richer and hurt individuals. Does it benefit you to get 7.62% more in your paycheck? Sure. And it'll also be the death throes of Medicare and Social Security for our elderly. That should be a non-starter. We need to all rise up. I know we have, in my town here, where we have an event Wednesday night. We're going to be out protesting what's going on with the Postal Service. You're probably seeing them popping up all across the country. I encourage you to get involved. Call your senator. If you're in a Republican area, call your representative in Congress. This needs to stop. He needs to stop sabotaging the election and setting it up so he can declare the whole thing fraud, because he's going to lose. He's down by 12%. 12% to Joe Biden. And Joe Biden, for the majority of progressives, real hardcore progressives, Joe Biden is uninspiring. They have a problem with Kamala Harris's court records. So if we have a large portion of our super progressive fringier base that are uninspired to even be involved in this election, and he's still got a 12% lead, this is going to be a landslide election. And I love when all you Trumpers come into my comment section and go, Trump 2020, you're delusional, he's going to win again. He's really not. He's really not. Most of my friends that actually admit to having voted for him all regret their vote in 2016. He is an embarrassment. And it's only the sycophantic flock of his cult that are flying their flags in their yards. Only those people, and they are the vocal minority, and they may even be as much as 35% of our population, which is gross and insanely disgusting to me. But 35% does not win an election. 35% is a landslide loss. So, do I have some concern about the election? Of course. The idea of him winning re-election and having a mandate to continue his fleecing of our country is terrifying to me. But I'm also confident in the fact that we have enough Americans with common sense to understand where we are. And I do believe that while this campaign to deface Joe Biden, this Sleepy Joe and he sniffs little girls campaign that the Republicans are trying to do is going to lose. Joe Biden has been in Washington for a very long time. He knows how this game is played. And Kamala Harris is a strong, inspiring individual who is going to wipe the floor with Mike Pence in debates. Anyway, what do you think? Is this all nonsense? Is there nothing wrong with the Postal Service? Do you actually believe that Trump is not trying to sabotage this election? Or do you agree with me? How bad do you think it can be? Do you think the polling is off? I don't know. I'm fairly confident. Give me a thumbs up on this video if you liked what you saw today. I really appreciate it if you smash that like button. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't. And I'm here every day, except when I'm not. Monday through Friday, generally around 8 or 9 a.m. I'm posting my videos. And it's gonna get ugly as we're going along here. More and more is gonna happen because, really, Trump can't go a day without fucking something up. So I will see you guys tomorrow. Thank you for watching today's Daily Octane. I hope you have a good day.